Nick Petrie.
Phil Wilburn, back again.
Back again, I know. The dynamic something. So, here's a common topic of resiliency in the classroom. But here's a topic that I hear a lot about, and I want to get some clarification. What is the difference between pressure, stress, and exhaustion? Because those terms come up a lot, both on the bios that people bring in, but also the terms in the classroom. So, is there any thoughts on that?
Well, I have some thoughts on it, as always. So I find this one really interesting because, like you say, the more we're working with people, the more we're seeing this is a big issue for them. And I think what happens is people sort of collapse these terms together, stress, I'm exhausted, I'm fatigued, as if they're all stress, but they're actually not. There's separate categories.
Okay.
And depending on sort of what you're dealing with, the solutions are actually different.
Okay, so pressure.
Okay.
Why don't we start with pressure?
Why don't we start with pressure?
All right.
So most people talk around, they put pressure and stress together as if they're the same thing. So they'll say, I've got a stressful boss, I've got a stressful job, I work with stressful colleagues, for example. But what pressure is actually about is demand in the environment. So your workload, your boss, these sorts of things, these are demands on your time. But that's different from stress.
Okay, you're talking about tasks, you're talking about requirements from your boss, you're talking about, okay.
Pressure is external demand in the environment and everyone has it.
Okay.
No one has a job with no pressure. But as you know, you'll get two people who are working beside each other, same boss, same job, same tasks, and one person's stressed and one person's not.
Okay.
And the question is, why?
Yeah, why? So let's talk about stress. So why are some people stressed?
Well,
And some people are not.
based on 30 years of research from Dr. Derek Roger, he was a mentor of mine and one of the top researchers on stress. So he points out that stress comes down to one factor, and it is rumination. Rumination. So rumination is going over and over in your mind about some events from the future or something in the past and attaching negative emotion to it.
Okay.
And when you do that, you get adrenaline flushing through your system, you get cortisol going through your system, and you can feel your heart going. People who ruminate a lot are always stressed.
And so people are ruminating all the time, right, in the classroom and so forth. One of the things that I like to do in the classroom with rumination is ask people what they're stressed about, right? So like, what are you stressed about right now?
Right,
And some people, what are you stressed about right now?
Right now?
Right now, nothing.
Nothing.
But is there pressures in your life that you could see you're thinking about? Yeah. But not right now.
Right. So at any given time in the moment, you are not stressed. It's the thinking into the future and the thinking into the past, right, which produces it.
Which produces it, right? Which is rumination. So you said two keys to stress. One key we found is rumination.
Yeah.
All right, what is the other thing that happens that causes stress?
Go ahead. What do you mean, two key things which happen?
Yeah, well, rumination causes stress.
Yeah.
Thinking from I don't know.
Well, people are, in terms of how do you get out of this cycle, basically it's doing what you said just before, which is to wake up.
Okay.
So people need, if you are awake and you are present, as we are right now, there's no rumination happening. There's no stress being produced.
Okay.
So the second thing which really causes people to feel a lot stressed is they are unable to detach from situations. So Derek and his research found that detachment, people who are able to stay detached under pressure, are able to experience massive amounts of pressure without any stress. And detachment is getting some distance from the situation and keeping it in perspective.
Okay.
So, we meet some leaders who are just amazing at that, right? Massive pressure, but they just keep things in perspective. And we meet some
that are overwhelmed, overstressed, overworked, and so forth.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about our last topic, which is exhaustion.
Right.
So what happens? What is exhaustion about? And why do people use this so often in the classroom, and why do they tie it into pressure and stress?
Well, I think what happens, people say, I'm stressed, and so we'll talk to them around rumination, and then they'll say, but I don't ruminate. and they're right, and yet they still feel stressed. And so that's why it's important to pass these apart, I think, is because sometimes people are just exhausted, and it's due to a lack of oscillation.
Okay,
So
that doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
All right.
Okay, let me
Explain it to me.
So this came first from a guy, Jim Lear, who was he trained a lot of the top professional athletes, particularly tennis players. So he worked with Ivan Lendl and others. And what he found, he was looking at them to see what is it that causes the very top ones to be different from the others. And he had a lot of data. He looked at techniques, he looked at fitness, he looked at lots of things, but there was one factor he found made the biggest difference.
Okay.
And it was something called oscillation, which is this. So what he found was that the best players, they put heart rate monitors on them. During the points, he found their heart rates would go up massively, so they were fully activated. But between each point, when they went back and got ready to serve, they could bring their heart rates down and recover much more deeply than the average players. So they would foot 100% on the accelerator, foot 100% off. And so when he started working with business people and things like that, he found the same thing, and so do we, that you can get a lot done, you can push hard at work, but the key thing isn't how hard you can push, the key thing is how quickly and deeply can you recover each day. And the people who are exhausted, it's usually because they're doing this part, but they're not doing this part down here.
So how often should you be doing this part? I mean, should we be taking 2 weeks of vacation a year? I mean, how much does this consume the recovery?
So you want to do it sort of like professional athletes look at periodization. So they will look at over the course of a day, how often should they be doing this? Or even a training, how often can I do this? They'll look over the course of a day, over the course of a week, and over the course of a year.
Okay.
So you want to be thinking around, vacations, 2-week break, but also what do I do on a daily basis? How do I get myself down in 3 seconds and just relax and then get back into it?
Yeah, I see that as nobody thinks about recovery in 3 seconds, right?
Right,
That's just
right.
not a common thing. That would just blow people away.
Yeah. So it's around micro recoveries. We get into the zone and we just go, 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 and you get to the end of the day, you're tired, and you realise, I never did this all day. And you can do it just by stopping, closing your eyes, and taking 3 breaths, and just switching off. And that takes all of 5 seconds.
You could do this through exercise, right? If you
Yeah.
physically engage, you can recover mentally through exercise.
That's right. So what for a lot of people, pushing themselves physically is the way that they get themselves down mentally and switch off. So Lear and others have found that most people overexert themselves mentally and emotionally and underexert themselves physically. So they spend too much time down here physically, too much time up here mentally.
And this is what causes exhaustion.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Nick, you talked to us about pressure, stress, and exhaustion.
Yeah.
I hope these terms are a little more clear. They're clear to me. Thanks, bud.
All right.
All right.
Pleasure.